Obviously, Undertone is a masterclass in sound design and atmosphere. Its immersive nature not only helps you understand the character, but it encourages you to experience the character's paranoia. She isn't sure if what she's hearing is in her headphones or if the sounds exist somewhere in her environment. It's equally hard for the audience to decipher exactly what is real and what is not. You're constantly looking throughout the scene for something preternatural in the dark corners of the house. The camera's perspective, and thus the audience's perspective, is constantly asking that you seek information about these surroundings, both visually and through listening. What I mean by that is that the movie is asking for you to use your imagination about what is happening. Is she hearing something in her environment? Is she seeing something in the dark? It doesn't always show a blatant visual cue, but because of your heightened awareness and increased paranoid thinking, you're more likely to look for something scary in the dark and listen for something scary in the house. The movie essentially creates a scenario in which you are creating your own scare factor. There are a few times where the movie is blatantly showing you the scare, but for the most part, it doesn't. The religious imagery also adds an element of emotional anxiety. So even the things that you can see, which may be considered normal for the environment, because religious paintings and artifacts are very normal for a lot of homes, are so much creepier within this context. I could probably go on all day about how much I love the tone and the cinematography of this movie. It's obviously the bread and butter, but I want to talk about something different, something that was noticed by more than just myself. This movie seems to have a message that I haven't really seen in other films lately, and I want to talk about what its message means to me. People often seek the director's intention for whatever film they're watching deliberately, and I don't do that. I've never done that, and I won't be doing that on my channel ever. I love that a movie is able to speak to me and that I can take the message from it that makes the most sense to myself, and then other people can relate to that or they can not relate to that. So that's what we're going to do here today. So let's take a broader look at the movie Undertone. But if you haven't already, like and subscribe so that I can get to 2,000 subscribers on my channel. Okay, let's get started.
Listen. Do you hear something?
The movie starts to take a tonal shift once you realize that the demonic entity haunting Evie is one that steals and does away with children. At first, I started coming to the conclusion that this movie seemed like it was sending an anti-abortion message. Evie, throughout the film, had gone through a transformation of sorts. Having gotten pregnant by her distant and seemingly immature boyfriend, she had a choice to make. She seemed to swivel between options, but always kept them open. This is probably one of the most important, life-altering decisions a woman can make. It is not something by any means she would take lightly. No matter what decision she makes, there are consequences, and I don't mean that the consequences are always necessarily negative, but there's an impact to your story and the way you continue to live no matter what choice you make. Whether that be a practical consequence, such as increased responsibility for another human being, or the possible mental and emotional toll that an abortion might take on her psyche. The future is rather uncertain, and when you are faced with a choice that dictates that future, it might feel like your world is ending a little bit, because everything that happens from here on out is largely unpredictable. Could be the best decision of your life or the worst. So, to me, this movie represents all the elements of making such an impactful decision. It's not telling you that you shouldn't have an abortion. It's telling you that these are the things you're up against when posed with the question of whether or not to keep your pregnancy. Your religious beliefs, whether or not you're emotionally ready, whether or not your partner is ready, what your friends think, what your mom thinks, what society will think, what you will think of you. It also creates a reflection of how you feel about your own upbringing. I've been through all this trauma, and am I someone who has overcome that? And if I haven't, will I still be a good parent to this child? Regardless of whether or not you think these things should matter when making such a decision, that doesn't matter, because this is about Evie and her choice and how she is grappling with things that matter to her. If I remember correctly, this is even demonstrated in the demonic entity's name, Abby, but it kind of culminates into about you. She looks to her friend Justin and co-host for guidance, and at the end of the movie, he tells her that he can't help her. He doesn't know what to do. and he can't sway her one way or another because he's never been in that situation. Evie is trying desperately to clear her head of all the noise. She's trying to shut out the world so that she can make a proper decision. And I think the movie does an excellent job at atmosphere, not only to scare you, but to make you feel what Evie is feeling in that moment. And what she seems to be feeling when she puts her headphones on is that she's shutting out the noise the rest of the world is making. The movie helps you through that shut out the noise that the world is making, and you're just left with pieces that you need to put together, pieces of yourself, pieces of your own thoughts. The decision feels isolating and haunting at the same time. That is by design. Jessa and Mike are potentially an imaginative experience for what life could look like whether or not Evie chooses to end or keep her pregnancy. Would this be something that haunts her and her boyfriend? Would it be something that haunts their relationship for the rest of the time? Could she make it work with him? Would he be a good partner? The couple that Justin and Evie are listening to are so ambiguous that I really feel like there are a million different interpretations for their presence. And it's implied that they live in the same house or that they live in a parallel universe of some sort where they also inhabit this house, but I'm not exactly sure. In my opinion, they represent how she feels overall about her relationship. It may be intentional that they're so ambiguous because Evie's relationship with her boyfriend in the film is quite ambiguous itself. Honestly, all of her relationships are pretty ambiguous, even the one with her mother. And we don't get to know any of the people around her. We don't hear really any other experiences outside of this couple going to sleep together. So they seem like a stand-in for feelings that crop up inside of Evie about her choice. Evie's mother obviously plays a massive role in her choice to keep her pregnancy, but we never really get a sense of what their relationship was like. Why is her mother so important to her when making this decision? Is it because she's on death's door and she's feeling a sense of emotional dread? Does she feel like she might be alone in life and that's why she's doing this? This is where I think the movie lacks a bit, to be completely honest, because it's too open-ended. There are too many areas and gaps where I may or may not be able to fill in the blanks. And sometimes that's great if you're imaginative like me and like doing something like that. But I still feel like I needed a stronger sense of who Evie was and more information about the relationships around her. Not because I wanted to make her decision for her. And maybe that's why they left out so much, so that the audience wouldn't be able to judge her based on the information that they had. But just so I could understand the conflict a bit more. I wanted to understand what mattered to her, where she was coming from in her thought process, in a way that could help me understand her choice at the end of the movie. Anyway, I saw a couple people drawing conclusions that this was an anti-end your pregnancy film. And I think this is because Evie chose to keep her pregnancy at the end of the movie. I don't want to be so reductive in my thinking, though. Maybe that was the intention and I'm just seeing it through my own eyes, but it seemed to have a little more meat than just don't do this thing. Evie made her choice for herself. Was she able to drown out the noise in doing that? I don't really know. But her choice was one that she made. It was for herself. And I don't think the movie was saying that this is the choice that anyone else should make when she made that choice. I think this was a brilliant way to address such an important subject, because women on both sides of the fence can understand the feeling of anxiety and overall apprehension in making a choice that is this big. Furthermore, this is obviously a topic that is relevant today, with the rights of women constantly being questioned and challenged on a governmental level. I think we should focus on Evie's journey and not her choice, because her journey felt terrifying, and it shouldn't have. She shouldn't have felt as isolated as she was. She shouldn't have felt judged. She shouldn't have felt like she was swimming upstream. Regardless of judgment and all of these things, this is a massive decision, and all of those things just overcomplicate an already massive decision. The movie sends a message, in my opinion, that this decision is not taken lightly. That at the end of the day, you need to drown out the noise and focus on what you truly want. And I can appreciate that. I honestly do believe that if the message was that you should not be ending your pregnancy, that the movie failed at that message fundamentally, because this was nothing if not extremely overwhelming for clearly Evie, but also the audience. It's a pressure cooker. And I think when you put anyone in a position where they're under an undue amount of pressure, they explode. And she would be making a decision based on the overwhelming emotional pressure and not what she wants. And I don't know why that would be a message that you'd want to put out if you're on the other side, I guess, of the spectrum. So it seems like sort of a no-brainer that this is not what the movie is trying to promote. But I have no idea. I've never read a single thing about this director. Again, I try not to be someone who goes and seeks out information about the movies that I see, either through things like Reddit or through the director's interpretation of their own project, because I think it obfuscates my emotional and mental thoughts on the movie. But I will say that I just Googled, I think I Googled something very basic, and I didn't see too much discourse about it. I was just looking on the Google searches and I saw that somebody else had thought that. I didn't even Google anything about me thinking it was something to do with abortion or anything like that. So I don't have a very broad understanding of what people are thinking. I just saw these little tidbits. I don't know what they were saying in the comments. There could have been a lot more discourse than what I actually saw. Okay, that's it for this video. If you liked the video, like the video. If you subscribe, you're getting me closer to 2,000 subscribers. I have been waiting for a hot minute, and this year I would really like to see the 1,000 go to 2,000. So if you're cool, or if you like my voice, or if you like my videos, please subscribe. I also have an Instagram. If you'd like to follow, the Instagram is in the description. I don't usually ask on the YouTube videos that anybody follow me on Instagram, but if you wanted to, it's there. And I will see you for the next video. Bye.